An Obi-Wan Kenobi series for Disney Plus. Now that's news I haven't heard since February 2019. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John Hoey. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have, believe it or not, a lot of stuff to talk about today in the Resistance Report. A lot of Star Wars news is coming out. Now, while not all of it, maybe none of it, is actually from Lucasfilm or Disney, there's a lot of legit stuff heading out there, and we're going to talk all about it, and we're going to do that here together. James, Lacey, guys, welcome back. I hope you had a great weekend. We have legit news to talk about today, and it's not like Legos or like stickers. It's like actual stuff. So you excited to talk about
Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi will be signing a contract.
Look at these Lego pants that leaked out. It's like, no, we actually have stuff to talk about instead of Lego pants. So how you guys doing?
We will be talking about a shirt.
Yeah, sure. Too. That is true. We'll be talking about a shirt. That's true. More on that shirt later.
Yeah,
man, it's been a crazy week. I got my Resistance broadcast thermos thingy. It's really just a thermos from Walmart that I put a sticker on, but I think it looks pretty good.
Why do you drink out of like a guinea pig?
Like
Jeez.
A what?
that's literally the same bottle you have, John, right in front of you.
Is it?
Oh my God. You're both.
It's not literally, but yeah, same idea.
Drink out of that on camera.
All our YouTube watchers are like, and back to Apple Podcasts.
What?
No, they're like, oh, no. Yeah, no. The Apple Podcasts are like, I got to get to YouTube, check out these thermoses.
Lacey, are you pumped we're not talking about Lego pants and stuff anymore?
We weren't ever talking about Lego pants, but yeah, I'm excited for actual news. Congrats are in order. It was your story, so congrats.
What story?
Mm-hmm.
The Kenobi story.
Oh, I forgot. It was so long ago that we reported that. I forgot about it.
So did some other people, apparently.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a little bit, I guess. But guys, you want to get through these poll results? I think Lacey might be interested in this one.
Sure.
Okay.
I know this is going somewhere.
We asked you guys, do you... I thought you don't stay away from the polls. You read our polls, right? It's just Resistance Transmissions you stay away from.
Yeah, I just said I know where this is going. This is going
nice.
somewhere.
Okay. I thought you were using the Force in predicting. Okay.
No.
Guys,
she knows what she has to do.
We asked you, do you think nice. Adam Driver will ever play Kylo Ren / Ben Solo? Had to put it all in there. Again, after the Rise of Skywalker. Simple yes or no. 37% said yes, Adam Driver will be back. And that means 63%, almost 2 out of every 3 fans out there said no, Adam Driver is done with Star Wars. I was floored by these results. At best, I was thinking it'd be split like 50-50. I didn't realize it'd be this big of a swing where only a third of the people out there think he'd be coming back. So... Lacey, James, where did you vote? I voted no. I voted that he's done with Star Wars. Where did you guys vote, and your take on the results here?
I voted no. I think we've talked about this before as a will of the Force. I just think he's done with Star Wars. I think he did it as a career move, probably a nice little paycheck. I think he's moving on to more serious projects in the sense of like indie stuff and more drama-filled movies. I just don't think he wants to do it. And I think he like really is against the whole fandom world in the sense of he's never done a convention. I think he has some type of social anxiety about it and like dealing with fans. I mean, Burn This was nuts with the fans every night. I'm sure it was kind of crazy. I remember there was one night they actually didn't have him come out because... No, Burn This. Is that a joke?
About the comedian Aziz always talks about Burn Notice. Oh. Never mind. And his cousin.
So there was like one night where someone followed him home, and it was like this whole thing. So I can only imagine like that's where you kind of draw the line, where you're like,
wasn't there a lot of verbal, just like online, but just like insults about his wife and
Yep. I mean, you get that with like any, I guess, male celebrity where you have women that are like, oh, that's my boyfriend. I mean, no joke. I worked for ReadPop and we had BookCon and the Property Brothers came and we got this 9-page document of women that thought they were dating the Property Brothers with like pictures and everything of like what we had to look for. And I kid you not, one of the pictures was this woman painting her ceiling.
Holy cow.
So I can only imagine for Adam, it's a little worse.
So were you surprised that it was that big of a swing on the vote?
No, because I think most people can tell that he's trying to move past Star Wars, I think.
Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Supreme Leader shirt.
You are. Love that shirt.
I was feeling spicy today, so I'm like, I got to get the Supreme Leader on
you
my
don't
back.
say.
Yeah. James, where'd you vote? And were the results right where you thought they'd be, or a bit different?
I think they're probably where I thought they would be. I can't really say that, but I will say I'm not surprised, if that makes sense. I can't say I would have called this, but when I see it written down, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense that 63% of people would say that. I voted no, but it's only hard because if he survives the movie, like he's coming back. Redeemed or not redeemed, it doesn't matter. If he survives the movie, I think he would come back.
Interesting.
Right. So I think that's kind of like this weird caveat on there. But I can't imagine a scenario where the character survives still being evil or being redeemed, and then somebody not questioning down the line, like, whatever happened to that character, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's done so much where it can't just be like, and then that's the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then you have episode 10, which doesn't feature any Skywalkers in it, you know, and we've done this before, but like that just really sticks to me that the character has to die. You know, it's like Batman in that last one, or what's the Harold Crick Stranger Than Fiction? Like, he has to die. You have to die. Sorry, it's the best story.
Well, speaking of best, we have a best comment, and that is Stargazer 1116 at Stargazer 1116-1. So I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, Stargazer said, "I think he could. I think he could play him again sparingly, but he wouldn't be entirely excited about it." I think it's like they force Adam Driver back. "I think he loves and is invested in the character, but hates the hoopla around it." So kind of like what we've been saying. He definitely, he's not mailing in his performances. He probably really enjoys knocking a lightsaber around and being evil, but the whole spectacle of being in a blockbuster and dealing with all the trappings of that probably doesn't suit him and his borderline introvert personality. But
right.
Great comment. Thank you, Stargazer. Tell your friends about TRB and bring them along. Maybe they'll get best comment next time. But now it is time to actually, the red, white, hot, whatever James prefers. The news is piping. It's piping. The Resistance Report. It's time. I don't even care who introduces this. Is it Harrison Ford? Whatever. James, let's go.
It's the Resistance.
I think that was Baze, wasn't it? Baze, the Resistance is here, right?
Is that Baze? No.
It sounded like Baze. I don't know. Maybe I'll add the video. I know, I'm just buzzing. Anyway, we got lots of stories, guys. What an incredible week of just like bing, bang, boom, stuff. And we feel it's all worthy to talk about. So the first one coming up here is a big story. It's looking like John, more and more evidence that this is happening. The Obi-Wan Kenobi thing is happening. Disney Plus. Going back to the start, like you reported this back in February. We've been talking, and it's been such a long dry spell that it almost feels like everybody's kind of forgotten about this. I've even started. I'll be honest. I even started having my doubts about our own reports here, and I'm like,
I didn't.
When is that going to happen? Like, when is this thing going to show up? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, Deadline is confirming, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, boom, all of it is just an influx of information. All the information that we have is that, you know, he's signed a deal or he's in negotiations. It's definitely happening. Confirmed was thrown around a lot today. all this stuff. And there was a little bit about there too. Like it definitely is going to be that third Disney Plus show, which is what we've been saying for a long time. 6 to 8 episodes, which is what we've been saying for a long time. You know, it's like everything that we had already talked about is now just being vindicated. So let's get talking about this. Lacey, why don't you start? No, John, get in on this.
That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I'm not a big scoop guy. We do a lot of news reporting at Star Wars Newsnet, but we're not always known for getting big major scoops. And this is definitely the biggest one I ever got. But, when we had the information, it was very detailed, and where I got it from, I knew it was legit. That's why it's kind of, funny that people are like, well, the reason why people didn't, source you is because they couldn't confirm it. I'm like, well, I reported it as though it's legit. I didn't report it as a rumor. I report some things as rumors sometimes, but if I believe in it, I report it as a legit exclusive report, which I did back around Valentine's Day. I think it was February 19th, something like that.
That's my birthday.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
it was on my birthday.
Yeah, that's my wife's birthday. Oh. So I think it was on my wife's birthday, which happens to also be Lacey's birthday.
All right,
and cool. We talked about
Seems
it.
like Lacey's your wife, but that's not true.
It got a lot of buzz at the time, and if you look at the back of the report, you can easily find it. Right, Star Wars Newsnet Kenobi series, whatever. I detail
in the description
how it came to be, because initially, and it's all in the article. Check it out. They were going to do a Kenobi movie. And Ray Park and Ewan McGregor went to the Solo premiere. They sat next to each other. They were going to make a big announcement, and then Solo obviously had its box office problems, unfortunately, of course. And they stopped. They stopped the announcement. They pulled it back, and that's when you heard the "we're taking a hiatus" thing. They took the script and they started retooling it for a series because they knew they were creating the streaming service, and they're taking the script and rebrandishing it to a 6-episode series. So Ewan McGregor was always on board. They were not making a Kenobi series without Ewan McGregor. As much as Steve Buscemi would have killed it, let's be honest.
Yeah, I thought it was Zac Efron.
It was Zac Efron, Paul Dano. No, but it's all there in that article, and then obviously other people have been getting credit for it, whatever. I don't want to get into it because I was pretty upset about it last week. I'm just happy that it's happening, and that the report being vindicated is a bonus for sure. But I'm really excited that they are doing this. 6 more hours with Ewan McGregor's Kenobi with someone else directing it and writing it. I'm very interested in that because the only Star Wars we've seen with Ewan McGregor is written and directed by George Lucas, and to get a different point of view and with his talents in there, with today's modern technology and effects and maybe connectivity with other characters and background, I'm really excited for it, and I'm just overall happy about that element of it.
That's interesting. Every movie where Obi-Wan Kenobi was alive was directed by George Lucas.
Yeah, and written by George Lucas.
Written and directed by George Lucas. Only the ones where he was alive.
Right, and then then after that, he's like, I can't direct dead Obi-Wan. Someone else has to do this.
Yeah.
Is it my turn to talk about this?
Your take on this, yeah.
So I don't know if anybody remembers this. John and I took this bet back in November that they were going to announce a Kenobi series at Celebration, and we both lost because it wasn't announced.
I remember.
But we've been saying this for a very long time. Like, I have to get pied in the face because of it, because we've been saying this so seriously. So it's really nice to know that it's official-ish, I guess, because they're saying confirmed, but it's not from Lucasfilm, but it's pretty much confirmed. Mm-hmm. But Kenobi's GOAT. I can't wait for this series. I'm glad it's a series, not a movie. I would rather have 6 hours than 2 hours.
It's not confirmed like from the studio. But here's the thing:
it will be at D23.
If it never happens, everybody's going to be like, "What happened?" Like there's a story there. Mm-hmm. Because it's so close to happening that it's on the books, it's kind of one of those things. Like it's happening. And if it doesn't happen, then what happened?
If now we record this, we're peeling back the curtain here and spoiling the magic that makes TRB happen. Whoopie-doo. We're recording this on Thursday right now. By the time this airs on Monday, it's possible Disney and Lucasfilm confirmed this. But as we're recording this now, they haven't, even though all these other now major outlets are confirming the story. I think that's potentially the reason for that is because they're waiting and they're going to announce it at D23 in a more physical sense than on just their website. And they'll have
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, walk out and say,
hello there.
No, hopefully not, but he probably will, right?
Yeah.
Damn catchphrases.
How many people are drunk today because of Lacey's hello there drinking game? Yeah,
it's like if you wrote an Obi-Wan Kenobi article and didn't put hello in there, then hello to you because you did a good job. But I can't blame people. Like I know Bill Sheehy was always a big fan of high ground. Mm-hmm. Bill was always a big fan of all those little catchphrases. So I don't know. I mean, like I say, I'm happy that it came true. I'm glad because there were some people that were like, it always happens too. And I try to take the high road, but there's always people like, remember when Star Wars Newsnet reported that Kenobi series that never was announced? Like I found tweets of people saying that. I almost want to like Jay and Silent Bob like show up at their house and be like, "Did you say this?"
Well, I'm going to take the high ground and say that I said they were going to announce
Jedi
this.
Sucks 309
at D23. So
yeah,
I like being right.
But I mean, credit and all that stuff. I can honestly go off on that. I'm just like I say, I'm happy it's happening. I'm happy that the report was vindicated. I'm thankful from where I got the information, which no one will ever know, and I'm excited. Ewan McGregor coming back to Star Wars, making fun of Kylo Ren's lightsaber style. I'm all about it, man. Did you guys see that video?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that. Yeah.
Oh, he's like, who needs a hilt? We didn't have a hilt.
Yeah, it was funny to me because like all those are older videos or whatever, but apparently they added it to the game. And I'm like, Battlefront. That's phenomenal. Yeah. That's people paying attention to what's out there and making it fun for, all of us. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we definitely have a lot to talk about when it comes to that. Yeah.
I do want to thank everyone who did share the news and source Star Wars Newsnet for being the original reporter of the Disney Plus Kenobi series, because a lot of people didn't, and maybe they didn't know that we had done it or they forgot. But anyone who did out there, whether you're on a YouTube channel or you have a website or a blog or even on Twitter, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and it means a lot, and I'll remember. So thank you.
We have a lot to talk about when it comes to the more of that story. Maybe Thursday I'll open up some time for some discussion, a little bit about what we've talked about it kind of ad nauseum, but at the same time, like now that it's more real, it's like, okay, cool. Well, let's talk about what this thing could actually be. But we have a lot to talk about as far as other stuff going on in the Star Wars world right now. So there is, new merch. And again, this is like kind of a weird story. New merch that was spotted. Recently, when they announced the Sith Troopers on StarWars.com, there was this big article about all the stuff that's going to be rolling out on Triple Force Friday and the 1st of September. And if you are aware of how URLs work, somebody went in and they started like poking around and changing some numbers and things. And it turns out that some images that were uploaded to like their WordPress blog kind of thing weren't used in the article. And so we were able to kind of take a look at some of the merch that either may be available on those days or were ideas that they decided not to move forward with, but they were still on the site or something. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we got a lot of images, one of which being a t-shirt that I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I thought it looked so fake. And I was like, it has details that are like written out. Like, the Sith Troopers are definitely under the command of Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren. And I was like, that's too specific of a plot point to put on a t-shirt. But then the more we dove in, it's definitely real. So whether or not this shirt sees the light of day, we now know that, Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren are at the top of the food chain on the Sith troopers. Lacey, my sincerest apologies. Just kidding. I actually made a fake shirt just to tease her about it that had like the runtime of the movie and all this other stuff. That was pretty funny, actually. All right, but
it's my episode today.
So James is apologizing to Lacey because Lacey was like, "Guys, check this out. This made on Reddit. It was right.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Reddit leak. Yeah.
So and I said it looks legit. Let me confirm with a link." And before I could reply with a link to confirm it for James, he had made a full shirt mocking me, saying, there is no way this is correct. And I was just like, I'm just not going to answer. So I didn't answer for like 20 minutes. But
Lacey, before you dive in, if you have a website and you're going to potentially sell merch and you don't go public yet, watch out for Milner's blog because that guy will find it and he will get it on Reddit.
Yeah. People got to be careful of what they upload, especially if it links out. Like, people can find things. Mm-hmm. I can't even tell you how many times I've found things by just like switching the numbers at the end and like.
Mm-hmm. Like imagine there was a T-shirt that said like Kylo's noble end, like Qui-Gon on the soundtrack leak.
Why would you? Why does it always have to be Kylo dies?
No, I'm just saying that'd be a hot
because that's
to come out.
A character dying is always the biggest thing. Like a shirt that says everybody dies at the end. That's always the go-to worst spoiler.
Everybody's
and
dead.
Since he's such a main character and probably nobody thinks like, I mean people do, but nobody thinks like Rey and Poe are gonna die. If there's one character on the chopping block, it's Kylo.
That's fair.
Yeah, but anyway, what did you think about the shirt? What do you think about the Sith troopers being under the strict command? And also, let's talk about this, the allegiance thing.
Yeah, so to be fair for James's teasing, it did come from some type of legitimacy because he found the website with the stock images with the shirt on it. So it seemed like they used a stock image site to make the shirt, but it caught my eye because of the description, like you said, that Kylo Ren is like leading these troopers, which I'm immediately like, ugh, that means he's like bad if he's leading these guys. Because forever, aka for the past month and a half, I know they've been teasing that these Sith troopers are actually Palpatine Sith troopers, and there's all this like kind of like not like confusion around them, like who is running the show. So this shirt kind of is like, no, it's Kylo is definitely doing this. So he's a bad guy. So there's that. Second of all, wait, what was the second part of your question?
The allegiance stuff.
Oh, yes.
Allegiant General Pride and the shirt that says allegiance.
So the other thing we were talking about was how there's a guy shirt that has the Sith Trooper on it that says Elite Infantry Allegiance Squad or something. Allegiance Trooper, right?
Yeah, Allegiance First Order.
That's
or something like that, yeah.
So then I couldn't help but notice that like that word keeps coming up with the comic series and the shirt and then Richard E. Grant's character. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of questions that I know, James, you had some good ideas of like why that might be, right? Like why they would all tie together.
Yeah, I do want to get to John on this because I feel like he's sitting over there just browsing Twitter or something.
No, I'm looking at the photos in the article.
Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah.
I see the mug. I see the phone case.
My thing was we have this comic coming out called Star Wars Allegiance, and the comic, as the description is, it's the Resistance going back to the Mon Cala, trying to build up their army and get their resources together. Context here to get ready for the big fight, right? Is kind of what they're saying. But when you look at the cover, it's got a giant First Order trooper. It's got Kylo Ren on the front. So obviously they're probably going to also give you the other side of that. What is the First Order doing to prepare to snuff out the Resistance? And because it's called Allegiance, you got to think this might actually give us some insight into how they're marketing this movie with all the Sith troopers. Right. Oh, we've shown you the Sith troopers. Here's more Sith troopers. Here's how the Sith troopers came to be. Here's what the whole Allegiant General Pride and who they, work for. Mm-hmm. All that stuff, just so that we go into the movie. Boom, it's all done. We can just start with them having an army. You don't have to go into the backstory of where all these things came from. They just show them. They're just there.
Right.
So, but John, get to this. Did you like the shirt? What size are you getting?
It's very form fitting.
It's a lady shirt.
Yeah. I would not look good
Doesn't
in that.
have to be.
No, it's a lady's one, the one she's wearing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it is. It is.
I don't like the shirt. It's almost like the shirt, like when you see a Star Wars shirt in like Banana Republic, and it's like, this is how to look not nerdy, but like Star Wars. It's like got a script in it, and it's very chic. It's like, but it doesn't look like a Star Wars shirt to me. I don't know. It looks like if you looked at it, you'd have to be like, wait a minute, is that a Star Wars shirt? Not like, that's a Star Wars shirt. So I don't like the shirt, but the caption makes it pretty clear. First Order Battalion Sith Troopers, the finest troopers in the galaxy under the strict command of Kylo and the Knights of Ren. So that's kind of interesting. And, it makes sense because, like we say, they have the First Order looking helmets. So if they were some kind of been sitting around for 30 years, that wouldn't make too much sense unless that design was there and the First Order tapped into it from Empire Archives or something. So it all kind of makes sense to me. It's curious to see if it's one of those things where there's an Order 67 and all of a sudden those guys start firing on Kylo Ren or something.
Order 67.
Yeah, Order 67. Let's order 67 shirts of our new design, Order 67, so we can get ahead of the game. But no, it's cool. It's one of those things where it's not like, oh my God, they spoiled it or whatever. But then also I was thinking about, what was that thing on the placard thing that they accidentally posted at Comic-Con that said they get their...
they draw their power from an ancient
legacy.
Dark energy or something. Yeah.
It was legacy, I think.
But yeah, maybe.
So there's something more to it here, I think. But it looks like at least out of the gate, they're going to be listening to whatever our lovely Supreme Leader has to say.
Yeah.
He's confused.
Yeah.
So confused.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'll destroy you.
The other thing, John, you pointed out, you pointed out in the article that because these were leaked, they'll probably never see the light of day. They're just like frantically like coming up with new shirts.
Yeah, they're like
we don't ever want to. Yeah, we don't ever want to make it seem like these. Oh well, man, we got caught, kind of thing. The other thing also too is like the shirt wasn't really that great to begin with, in my opinion. And then I started looking at some of the other pictures, and there was another one where she like had on her back and it said Sith, and then it just put like in like bold Helvetica like Master under it, and it was like just like flat photoshopped on there. It wasn't like contoured to her body. It wasn't like any sort of good stock. I don't know. Thing.
It just looked
terrible.
Shops?
And she's like Sith Master.
Yeah,
and
like
I'm
the iron press T-shirt shops on like when you go to a boardwalk. Like that's what these are. They're just like, what do you want to say?
It reminds me of like
Sith like what?
It reminds me of like Amazon, where you take like an image and then they just like, it's like a family like going like this, and then they like will Photoshop very poorly the product like in their hand. Like that's what it felt like.
Right, but
and
you
I was
guys
like,
don't
they
find
might
it...
not have even ever planned to use these.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you don't find it a little interesting that on a lady shirt they have Sith Master? So someone in the movie should be called Sith Master.
Yeah.
They're not going to put that. It's like having a Jedi Master on the back of your shirt.
I think people read too much into the shirts, though, a little bit. Like, remember when the Galaxy's Edge shirt of Rey with her lightsaber, people were like, she's going to have a crackling blade.
Okay.
This is like, different, though. Okay. This is a word.
Yeah, it's kind of like that whole like Sith troopers. They're just another trooper. I'm like, no, because they're called Sith troopers. I'm with Lacey on this. There is something to that word Sith Master. I wonder if Palpatine will refer to himself as a master of the Sith or something like that.
He already has.
I know, but that means I don't know. It's just weird to me that they would have a shirt like that.
I understand, but how many times did Vader refer to Palpatine or call him Master?
Right, but at this point, in the sequel trilogy, there is no Sith Master.
Kylo Ren.
No.
You're going to get those yellow eyes going.
Make me
He
uncomfortable.
does command a legion of Sith troopers.
I know.
All right. We've talked more about this than the Kenobi show.
Yeah. Jeez, they should have been the Kenobi shirt leaking the scoop.
Yeah, but you know what? You know why? Because John wrote that detailed story that we basically put a whole episode into it. Maybe
we've
even
already
more
run
than
into
that.
this.
So that's why we're talking about this t-shirt more, because we've already discussed it for 6 months.
All right, guys.
Well put.
So.
We're going to move on to John Williams and how much music he's writing for the next movie, Rise of Skywalker. So there was a panel at the Academy of Scoring Arts, and who was there but none other than his brother Don Williams.
I love his name is Don.
I know, that is unreal.
Yeah,
imagine being the brother to John Williams and your name is Don. Imagine how many times his parents were like, Don, get over here.
Yeah.
Probably just refer to them both as John Don.
Like John Stamos has like an ugly brother, Don Stamos, and he's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't.
Can I get in that Full House sequel? Like,
we're getting this report, but it's hearsay because Sean Williams said he disagreed.
Sean
Imagine
Williams.
if Don Williams looked just like John
Who
Williams,
hates his
except he
brothers.
had like a black mustache instead of gray. Like it was just his evil twin named Don.
Yeah.
All right. So Don is a talented musician within himself, and he also works with John on these movies and stuff. And he says we got a lot on our plate. He says right now we're looking at 135 minutes worth of music. That goes to tell you how long the movie is, which I think is also just like a weird line because that doesn't really tell us anything about how long the movie is. We can talk about that. But the big thing coming out of this too is that he also says that that all of it, all themes, think of a theme, boom, we're going to stick it in there. It might only be like a 2-measure piece, but if you listen, you're going to be able to hear it. You're going to be able to find it. It's all there. And that to me is way more interesting than the length of the movie because John doesn't do anything that isn't purposeful. If there's a lick of, Yoda's theme, it probably means Yoda's there, So let's talk about this a little bit. John, I'm starting with you. John, when is your brother Don Hoey going to be on the show?
Anytime, man. Anytime you want. No, what's funny about this is, like you said, James, he's going to be using every theme and how his brother says, like, and I wish my brother talked this glowingly about me, but there's Don Williams, completely comfortable being in the shadow of his brother, right? And he's like, he's going to sprinkle them all in like he does so beautifully, and you may not even notice, but you have to find it like a treasure hunt. And like you said about the Yoda thing, if he's saying all these themes are really in it and the Yoda theme's in it, it doesn't mean Yoda's in it. It could be the moment, like when they talk about Yoda, you hear it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like in Solo when...
Well, I mean, Yoda's in it in the
Nest,
sense of like he's referred to and such.
Like when Enfys Nest is talking about, her mother and the people resisted, you hear the March of the Resistance very faintly in the back by John Powell. So it's like that type of thing. They do that a lot, and you could see the new composers being inspired by John Williams' technique in that regard. But you're right. Every theme being used is exciting to me. I hope it's just not one of those like, all of a sudden it's Duel of the Fates, and then they go there, and all of a sudden it's, the Clash of the Heroes or whatever, and then the March of the Resistance. I hope it's, like he says, a little more blended in, and I'm sure it will be, instead of like a greatest hits album. But 135 minutes of music, that's, I think, the longest amount he's created for one of these films. And a lot of people are running with that as the runtime, which is not true. I do think, though, this movie is going to be the longest Star Wars movie we've seen yet. And I hope so, but I'm more or less, though, in a very general sense, I should say, just very excited that we're getting probably new John Williams music in addition to the existing themes. I'm really actually eager to hear more new John Williams stuff to end his run.
Yeah, I don't know how much new we're gonna get out of this, John. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, I think we will.
I think it's gonna be greatest hits. Lacey, thoughts on John Williams and throwing everything, including the kitchen sink theme?
I think that, first of all, John's going to do a great job. We know this. But I have to agree that I think we talked about this previously, James, specifically you and I, that The Last Jedi felt like a recap of sorts, whereas the Force Awakens soundtrack was all these new songs, like Rey's theme and all like Jedi steps, stuff like that, where you're like, oh, all these new songs. Like Rey's theme is hands down one of the best John Williams songs ever. And then you get Last Jedi, which I felt was just a rehash of a lot of those themes and songs mixed together. So my fear is that knowing that I love John Williams and I love the original soundtrack, and then, you know, you got the prequels and then the Force Awakens soundtrack, that it's just going to be a mishmash of what's already been done. And I'm really, really hoping that we get like I would take one brand new song that we haven't heard yet that's like really awesome, because I felt like the Last Jedi album was great. Soundtrack was wonderful, but there was nothing on there that I was like, this is the best, compared to like The Force Awakens, which I listen to all the time. So that's my one, like, of course I'm being pet peevey about John Williams, so it's like, how much can I really say? But
there's no way we're not getting new tracks in this last movie.
I hope so. I really do. But I just get concerned when it says tracks, like...
But I think you mean like a new theme, like a new character theme or something.
I think we're stuck on the whole character theme thing. Sometimes they do themes that are about two characters. Like, and what if they have a fighting? It doesn't necessarily have to be like, and people are going to go with the romance thing. Like Rey and Kylo Ren, they could have a fight theme like Obi-Wan and Anakin did in Revenge of the Sith. Like, it doesn't have to be this character's theme. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I know. I'm just saying that I feel like The Last Jedi didn't have as memorable themes as The Force Awakens or the original trilogy, obviously, or the prequels. Yeah. I felt like The Last Jedi kind of felt like it's John Williams and it sounds great and it makes sense in the music. And
where was she on the Star Wars war? Gosh, man.
I feel like The Last Jedi wasn't as good as The Force Awakens in soundtrack wise. And again, I know this is John Williams and people are like yelling at home right now being like, how could you ever criticize this? I'm just saying.
You're comparing it to John Williams. That's where you're not.
John Williams versus John Williams.
Lacey Gillerin hates John Williams on the next.
Yeah, I got it because my argument was Last Jedi versus Rogue One. So now all of a sudden Michael Giacchino was like competing. Is he better than John Williams? That was where I was getting it. But
I think Rogue One has a better soundtrack than The Last Jedi.
That's what James argued against Bill and Pat.
I still say it. Who was it? Amy Ratcliffe the other day was like, why have I been sitting on the Rogue One soundtrack? And I'm like, welcome. It's so good.
I know, because I tagged you in it. I said, James, this is your time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with this. Everything you guys are saying, like, I think this is really cool. I think the big one for me is like it is Duel of Fates, which I still don't know if it's the Duel of the Fates or however it is, but I'm just thinking there's no way that if you're gonna say you're doing a callback and all the stuff is in there, the way they used it in Solo still was like just like this, and people were like, like they heard it and they knew it, and that was it. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe a lot of people didn't see Solo, whatever. That's a whole different discussion. But Rise of Skywalker, Kylo versus Rey, you stick that in there, whether it be early in the movie or end. These two, everybody's gonna lose it. Everybody's going to lose it. So that to me is like the just wait. It's going to happen.
Did you see that meme I posted from Bohemian Rhapsody?
yeah. This is where the operatic part comes in.
This is where the operatic section kicks in.
Yeah. So good.
You know, I had one more thing to say about this, and
sure.
It has to do with John Williams, this being his final movie, and J.J. Abrams wants this movie to also be able to stand on its own. That's why, like, we keep hammering home it's the culmination of all 9 movies, but it still needs to be the Rise of Skywalker. And that's why I think it's going to have its own original treatment, just like if it was episode 3, 6, 9, it doesn't matter. It's its own movie. So it's going to get its own treatment. It needs to be able to stand alone as its own movie and not just be here's your greatest hits. So that's why that in addition to, this is his final score for Star Wars. You don't think he's going to put out a knockout score? He's going out with a bang for sure. And I think that has to include new inspired compositions for telling the narrative of this story.
Don't forget too, this also is like, John is really good at doing this. It's never, oh, he's just playing Duel of the Fates. You know, like he's not just taking it and putting it here. He's going to work that into some new epic version of that song that ties in Kylo's and Rey's theme at the same time.
Yeah, think about the trailer.
While Duel of Fates is going.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
You had
There's
Leia
like 3
into
songs
Kylo
happening.
into, yeah.
Or he'll faintly
it's just,
do it, and it'll creep inside your brain, and you won't realize that you're hearing it. And then someone will be like, "Dude, did you hear when they played this theme?" And you're like, "No." Like,
yeah,
check
like
this
after
out.
the movie.
Yeah, and you're like, "Oh my god."
I think you could do that with other themes, but you can't do that with Duel of Fates as a missed opportunity.
No. I know.
It's got to be very clear.
Yeah, I'm talking about other themes, not just Duel of Fates. Yeah.
That song is
All
so
right.
good.
Yep. All right, so we got somebody breaking the silence. Rian Johnson was, promoting his movie, Knives Out, which is coming out soon. And of course, as we always say on this podcast, if he has anything to do with Star Wars, let's get Star Wars in there. We got to get those clicks up. So Observer asked Rian Johnson about his upcoming project, and he was open about it. There's some quotes here. We're doing something that steps beyond the legacy characters. What does that look like? To me, the blue sky element of it is what was most striking about it. I know that the way I'm coming at it and what's fun about it for everyone in George Lucas's films is figuring out what's the next step. It really makes you think and figure out what the essence of Star Wars is for me and what that will look like moving forward. So to me, just to jump off on this one, this sounds to me like Rian Johnson's kind of taking that Dave Filoni approach, which is the like, how did George do it? But what is Star Wars as a whole, and how can we kind of create our own path that still honors exactly what Star Wars is? And I think this is it's cool just coming from the person himself. There's been so much stuff out there that's like official, canned, confirmed. It's not happening. And I've been the person that's standing on this. Like, I don't understand this whole mentality of it's canceled when it's not canceled. It's not canceled. The last thing we've heard is it's totally happening. And he even came out on Twitter and was like, yes, it's still happening. And he didn't have to do that. It's like ridiculous to me that people think this is canceled.
How many drafts
it's still happening.
How many drafts were deleted today when that interview posted? They're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Lacey, what do you think about Rian Johnson's approach to creating a whole new world of Star Wars?
A whole new world. Sorry.
It's where I'll be.
A little pitchy. A little pitchy. First of all, James, you are so right. I remember John and I were sitting here many months ago being like, it's not happening. I think it's not happening. So way to go, James. Giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
It's all about calling things in Star Wars.
It's all about credit, you know, just like really giving people what they deserve. Okay, so that being said, I'm not surprised. We knew Rian Johnson was going to do his own thing, so that makes sense. The way he's going about it, I mean, Rian Johnson came up with The Last Jedi on his own, and like the whole idea of like the force bonding is what he brought into the movie, and the flashbacks, which had never been done before, and all these different things. So it doesn't surprise me that he's saying, oh, I'm going about this my own way. Of course he is. And I love that, because I'm so sick of hearing, oh, they're just rehashing this, or, oh, I want them to do this exact thing that I read in this book once in 1995. Like, let Rian make his own movie, and I'm sure it will be wonderful. And then nobody can criticize the way he handled Luke Skywalker, because it'll be completely new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that,
it's
he
child
did reaffirm
ruin proof.
John, what? I was going to say, I don't know what he's talking about. Child ruin proof. Oh, childhood ruining proof.
Oh,
yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
John, he did also reaffirm we'll be meeting an entirely new cast.
Love that.
So there's a couple of, other things that he's talking about. Just, what's the next step? How do we do this?
Yeah, it's exciting. It really is. And for selfishly as a fan in dealing with the black cloud that still kind of hangs over TLJ a little bit, like I just watched it again for the first time in maybe 6 months the other day, and I really had a good time watching it because I've been so separated from the battles with people online about hating it, loving it, blah, blah, blah. So it's, for me, it's starting to pull away from the stigma that like the black cloud over it with the toxicity and negativity in fandom. So that's a good thing. I think The Last Jedi is going to age really well because it was different and it took risks. It wasn't just some kind of like, and now Luke's going to come in with the green lightsaber and save the day and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't think that ages as well as what he did. And let's not forget The Empire Strikes Back took a bit of heat back when it first came out because they were like, oh, this puppet and it's weird. That's the master. And like, it took some flack too. And just sometimes it takes time. And we're not going to, like Lacey said, we're not going to have to deal with people being like, George Lucas would have written this character this way. It's like, no, he's starting brand new characters. So that argument is now dead. You can't even make it. Now you have to make a choice. Am I going to still watch these movies and get on board? Or if you do watch them just to hate on them, then that's a really sad thing to do. So people need to make a choice at this point. You understand this guy's making 3 Star Wars movies. He's writing them. He's directing the first. That's the latest we had found out about it. They're all his new characters, a new story in this galaxy far, far away. And there's nothing anybody can do about that besides either get on board or don't. And I think that should be a clear choice for people. And I like the fact that for the first time, we're going on a new adventure for Star Wars. It's going to be the first time since when it first came out that it's going to be like, we have no idea what we're about to get hit in the face with. Because even with the sequels or the spinoffs, there's connectivity there, even though it's not the Skywalkers. This is brand new. This is Bob Ross with a brand new canvas. And the happy trees aren't there yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing them.
It's weird. I almost... The closest I would say to that is probably episode 7.
How?
You don't think?
No.
Well, that's the only one to me where there's connectivity clearly, but everything was new. Like the bad guys were new, the characters were new.
There were still stormtroopers. There was a super
Han,
weapon,
Leia,
the
Luke.
Millennium Falcon, Han, Leia, Luke.
Yeah. Han and
Chewie,
Leia,
R2, C-3PO.
I hear all that, but I don't know.
We are getting none of that.
I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm saying it's the closest. Maybe Rogue One. I guess you could say Rogue One, but
I think this is going to be, with just a, wow, what is this? Like, and I like that because you go in with no preconceived notions, and we're all starting on page 1 together, whether you're 65 or 5. And I think that's a huge thing for fandom.
Yeah.
So Lacey, do you think that this is, he's setting it up like it's all new, right? But how do you think this is going to differ from the Benioff and Weiss stuff? Do you think that theirs is not going to be as brand new as we think?
I think we've discussed this a couple times, but I think the Benioff and Weiss stuff's going to be an older public. So I think it's going to be tied to what we already know. Whereas Rian Johnson is completely going probably in a new part of the galaxy with new characters, new aliens, new everything. So it won't have that preconceived notion of what you think Star Wars is. Because even if someone is 20 years old right now and has never played Old Republic, never played any of the games or read any of the books, they're going to see that and know from what's written online what people are expecting of it. Whereas Rian Johnson has none of that out there. It's all in his head. So I think it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this back in the day when it comes to like how can Rian create a completely new world and it feel like Star Wars without having lightsabers, stormtroopers, hyperspace, things
right.
at what point we're like, well, we can't get rid of hyperspace, light speed, You know?
Well, yeah, you're
Like, at
still
what
going to be
point
in
do they
space,
say, like-
but you maybe
No,
don't have
I'm-
Jedi or anything like that.
I still think he's going to
yeah.
heavily involve the Force. He just seems to really love Force lore, and he seems to get it the more people point things out. I think it's going to be heavily Force centric. Maybe not as much military Civil War thing, but that's just obviously just a hunch. We have no idea what he's doing. We just know that he's still doing it. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
When do you guys think they're coming out though? Because I mean, I guess we can talk about that maybe more in depth Thursday or something. But
Yeah.
Yeah, just the fact that it's still on board is, I think, really the story here, and that he's doubling down on the it's all new thing.
which means Ram Bergman still has a job too. So good for you, Ram.
Yeah. Last thing in the news, the longest Resistance report of our entire careers. Star Wars, speaking of Resistance, Star Wars Resistance released their second and final season trailer. This was crazy. I heard one person online, could have been a crazy. They were like, I don't know what the big deal is. They announced it was going to be 2 seasons when they first did it, and I was like, where was that? and I'm like, I was like looking for it, could never find anything. So they were probably a crazy person, but yeah, everybody, it seemed like most people, 99.9% of people were shocked. Oh my gosh, final season. The only 2 people was that random person and John Hoey. Like,
What?
who you said it was going to be 2 seasons.
Oh, that was just that was
Yeah.
a guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you weren't confirming.
No,
Gotcha.
no.
Yeah. I'm just saying, yeah, I think most people thought that this was kind of going to do their thing, and everybody was kind of surprised that it was the final season. There's a lot to talk about as far as like the what was in the trailer and what we'll see in the show. I think the main news right now, unless you guys want to go down that path, is why did the show get canceled, or what's the deal? It's not even canceled. It's the last season. They're only doing 2 seasons of the show. Either one of you, John, Lacey?
I'm going to let John go first.
John, all right, let's talk about this show and how you think it's going to fare.
Well, I think if you go by what they're telling us, and by them I mean the people developing the show, Pablo Hidalgo and others involved in making the show said season 2 was produced 2 years ago, and they may have finished up closer to now than that, but being that that's the case, and they haven't worked on anything since then, you have to, and season 1 came out in 2018. Logically, that leads me to believe that their whole purpose was 2 seasons, because they wouldn't be making season 2 in 2017 and not making anything from then till now and not knowing what the reception would be. So to think that it's because of how the first season was received doesn't make any sense, just from a timeline standpoint. So I think it was a 2-season thing, and maybe it was a way for them to fulfill obligations to Disney. Maybe it's as simple as that, Disney Channel, or something like that. You guys owe us a show before you launch your streaming service. You got to get us something. And Filoni came up with this idea because he was inspired by his grandfather with the warplanes. Like, that's very possible. But for the show itself, I think it's a nice little show. It's nothing, that's breaking ground for Star Wars for me. And I thought Kaz was a little bit silly, and I joked that he was constantly looking like he was walking on a buttered floor all the time because he's falling all over the place, like Goofy in the old Mickey Mouse cartoons. And then you see this new trailer, and it's like, wow, the epic music, and it looks way more serious than like Kaz again, like stumbles over a box. I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's still doing that, I guess. But I think it's cool. I think they did a good job with it. Big fan of a lot of people involved with the show. Obviously, Christopher Sean, he follows us, and he's a big fan of the community, and big supporter of the community. So thank you, Christopher, for that. Obviously, Steven Stanton, who has been on the podcast before via interviews. So we feel close with it, and I don't think it's anything that's needed to be more than 2 seasons. And for people to have said like that Lucasfilm and Disney don't know what they're doing or they're making poor choices, I tweeted this out. It's just so irresponsible and false and wrong. And it's easy to go out on Twitter and just tweet something, but you forget, like, even and what happened with Game of Thrones, the hundreds of people, maybe even more, involved with to make one show happen. It's just like so irresponsible and wrong to do that type of thing. They knew what they were doing. It's 2 seasons. It's a nice little show, and it's going to end. And guess what, guys? There's going to be more Star Wars animation in the future.
Yep. I saw a lot of people saying like, whoa, Resistance grew up. And, you know, as someone who was watching it all the way from the beginning, I get what they're saying. I think early trailers were like, hey, this is a fun adventure. But even the like mid-season trailer and like the trailer that was like showcasing like the last couple episodes and stuff, it's like those trailers were, in my eyes, like full-fledged Star Wars movie trailers. The music was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was going on and on about it. I was like, this show grew up, you know, in the first season, and people are saying it just now started. And I'm like, no, it didn't. It got good just right through that first run. And John, I thought too, when I heard that this was the final season, I thought something's weird. I mean, it's true. It's hard to get people on board with the show. But at the same time, I wonder if it has something to do with Disney Plus and the Disney Channel, and where does Disney Now fall into this? And there's, you know, all these other streaming services as far as like on-demand television and stuff. And the slot was at 10 p.m. That doesn't give a lot of faith in it in a weird way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lacey, what are all your thoughts on this? Are we going down the right path, or was it just as simple as what John is saying with, you know, hey, it was supposed to be 2 seasons and they're just doing their thing. This is what it is.
Well, I don't think Pablo is lying when he says that they've been developing this since 2017, because I think TV shows generally take years and years and years to develop. But I do think that you can't look at the evidence of it playing at 10 p.m. on a Sunday when most kids are going to bed for school the next day, and then the way that it wasn't necessarily received in the sense of like everybody was watching it like Rebels, or everybody's pumped about it like Clone Wars. Like, it was the first animated TV series that I felt that there are super passionate people that love that show, but then there are a lot of people like myself that, yeah, it's a great Star Wars show. Yeah, it's for kids. Am I watching every episode? Probably not. Am I super sad that it's canceled? Yeah, in the sense that there are a lot of cool people that work on it and a lot of hard work goes into these things, but I'm not losing sleep that it's canceled. And I think that if they get to tell the story they want to tell in 2 seasons, then I think that's awesome. And sometimes TV shows don't need more than 2 seasons. And when you drag it out, it actually makes it worse. At least they got a second season to continue the story instead of them saying, well, 1 season's enough. So I think that's cool. I'm interested to see where it goes. Obviously, everybody listening knows I'm going to bring this up. Kylo Ren is in the trailer, so that's pretty exciting.
Yep. That's why I purposely didn't. I wanted you to talk about that.
Aw, John, you're so nice.
Well,
no, it's really cool. And John and I were asking around online of who does the voice of Kylo Ren, because it's clearly not Adam Driver, going back to our poll where he's like, I got stuff to do. It's actually Matthew Wood who helped develop his voice for The Force Awakens, and he does, you know, General Grievous and a bunch of other stuff. He also does his voice in Battlefront, which I didn't realize until someone brought that up. So that's really cool. But the idea that he's showing up and he can use the Force over like hologram is insane. And I can't wait to see what they do with him in Resistance. I guarantee that's the only episode I'm going to watch. Sorry.
And I don't think, I mean, at least I don't.
Sorry.
What a loss.
I don't think the show was canceled. I really don't. I think it was a 2 season.
I was going to say that too. I said it earlier. I kept using the canceled word, and I was like,
because people in the comments are going to hold us to that. They're going to say,
sorry,
like,
canceled probably isn't the right word. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's run its
ending.
Course. Yeah. How about that?
And a lot of TV series, as I've been told, get a 2 season commitment sometimes, or a green light of 2 years. And
I said that
they're familiar. Well, other people have told me that too, not just you.
Oh,
all right.
Well, my friend works for Netflix, and that's what Netflix always does. They do 2 seasons
Sweet
to give a show a chance. That's not a brag. That's where I'm getting the information from.
See how she gets riled up like that, folks? It's so easy for me to do that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, so one other thing to talk about too is that the fact that there's only 2 seasons is also a little bit easier for people who did like really love and watch the show to be able to sell it later down the line forever and ever and ever. To be able to say like, oh, you never watched Resistance? They're like, nah, I look like a kid show. And they're like, dude, it'll be easy. It's 2 seasons. Just knock it out, get it done, enjoy it. It's good fun. It's hard to sell people on like Rebels and Clone Wars when it's like, oh, it's 4. It's 7 seasons. It's really good. You should watch it. And you even in that thing, you're like, most of it's good. You know what I mean? There's always still those like episodes where you're like, there's a little bit here and there where maybe you can skip some stuff. It makes it harder for somebody to try to want to get into that. So it's easier if you still say that about the Resistance. Yeah, there's hit or miss episodes maybe, but at the same time, like it's 2 seasons, knock it out, get it done. It's good fun. Just go and enjoy it.
And it'll make its way onto Disney Plus once it finishes its run. I'm sure they'll get it up there.
Yeah, one more thing real quick too about the 10 p.m. thing is, we get it. Like kids can't see it at that time, but they made it really hard for adults to watch this show too, because it was a Disney Channel exclusive show, right? Which means that you have to have cable in a world where we're all cutting cable. Like we're all moving to streaming services and it's on like a Time Warner like Spectrum network or whatever. Like nobody has that. So the only way to get the show is to buy it on like Amazon or iTunes or something like that. Well, there's that, but that was like a weird special or whatever. Obviously that was like a 1-day thing. But like, well, what I'm saying is like,
buy Resistance for a gallon of milk.
Nobody wanted to invest $40 just to be able to watch it when they don't even know what it is.
Right.
Yep. It's just, they made it difficult to watch the show, even as someone who wants Star Wars and who is interested in the show. So
well, what's good is all these characters are going to show up in the Rise of Skywalker. So we got that to look forward to.
Hey, man, we don't know. You don't know.
Wasn't it on Disney XD?
No, Disney Channel.
That was Rebels.
Yeah, Rebels was XD.
Oh.
Yeah.
Either way, it'd be the same thing because XD would be harder to get because you would probably have to upgrade from Disney Channel to get XD. All right, so take a breath. Longest, craziest episode. John, do you have a Scoundrels rundown this week?
Yeah, you know it, baby. No, I don't.
No, he doesn't.
No. Enter the Falcon failing sound right here.
Oh, I love that sound. Can't go to hyperspace. However, what we can do is we can shoot it over to Lacey this week for Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
All right, guys. So it's time for Ask the Resistance. So you guys have Star Wars questions. Hopefully we have some pretty good Star Wars answers. We have 4 questions today. First question comes from Alyssa at Curvy Mermaid 617. And she asks, does anyone still think the theory that Kylo Ben is a double agent working for Luke Leia, similar to Professor Snape in the Harry Potter books? I think with Palpatine back in the picture for episode 9, that theory is now more credible. So, ladies first. I'm going to go first. I'm trying to answer this because I don't want to make it sound like I'm shooting down your ideas because I'm not trying to. However, I think this would totally go against everything that's already been set up in the sequel trilogy, that he is operating of his own choice and own decisions. Because if he was a double agent, why would Luke and Leia have him kill Han? That doesn't really make sense that like Leia would be like, yeah, just go kill that guy. Just go kill my husband and the love of my life and your father. It didn't make sense.
But Snoke knows what he's doing, so he has to be like full in.
I know. And look, I know a lot of people use this idea for like fan fiction or some type of explanation to him turning good. He can turn good and still make terrible bad decisions that he's already done. I think that this would... I don't know. This is just a weird theory that I can't get behind because, again, going back to the whole Han thing, it doesn't make sense that he would kill Han. he wasn't put in a scenario that he had to kill Han. He chose to kill Han. So that alone kind of nixes this for me. So I'm sorry, Alyssa. I don't think he's a double agent. I do think there is good inside. I just don't think he's working for Luke and Leia, especially the way he attacked Luke in The Last Jedi. It's clear that he hates Luke. So
there's still good in him. I know it.
Yes. Well, he let Leia go. He didn't attack Leia, but he did like go all out on Luke and is like, I hate you. So I can't see that. Like, that's really good acting for Adam Driver, but not for Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, who literally has all of his emotions on his face and like everything he does is straightforward. All right. So next question comes from Sean Santarud at Rude Cold. And he asks, do you think the opening scenes of episode 9 will start by showing the Resistance, First Order, or something completely random? James, what do you think?
None. Because it's going to start with the Resistance and the First Order fighting a battle.
Woo!
Why do you think that?
Because all movies have to have that, like, 5 minutes in, dun, 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 big, like, thing, whatever it is. That's my John Williams. And so I think, okay, there's a battle. Is it, I don't know, is it like Poe getting chased down? Maybe, I don't know, something like that. But I just thought, when I see this thing, I've set up, we talked about it earlier with the Allegiance stuff. I see them just being like all in right at the beginning, like, this is the state of the galaxy, Resistance versus First Order. And it's like, we get after that crawl and it's like, dun, 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 dun. It's very Revenge of the Sith, you know? I just see it that way. And so it's hard to say that it's going to be Resistance or First Order. So it's going to be both.
I wish you did the soundtrack for episode 9.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Next up is Dakine Awakens at Dakine Awakens. And he asks, when do you think it was decided that the Resistance would be just 2 seasons?
Oops. We
kind of talked about this a little bit, but John, real quick.
When they made the show.
In 2017.
That's when they made season 2. So probably like 2016?
2015, maybe?
Yeah, probably around there. Yeah, I don't think this was canceled. They're promoting season 2 as the epic conclusion. I think it was a plan all along to fulfill 2 seasons. Whether, like I say, it could have been an agreement that they had to fulfill with Disney Channel and Disney Now before they make the jump to Disney Plus. And it could be as something as like, we have to make a series, so let's do this, which is a jaded way to look at things. Or they're just like, there's this little window, a nice little story we want to tell, and sprinkle in some characters from the sequel trilogy, and it's just going to be two seasons because of the timeline and it's in. So either way you look at it, though, I really do think it was meant as a short run series. Even if it had great ratings, I don't think they would have expanded too much more on that. And it's not to say that we won't see some of these characters again. So, but I think a very long time ago, in a boardroom far, far away, Mark, that they decided it was going to be 2 seasons, and that is it.
Something I just thought of too was like, Rebels was like ticking up, like it was trending up.
Oh, they could have done another 2. Yeah.
They were like, nope, it's the final season. We decided a while ago this is how we're going to end it. So they even have precedent. I know Clone Wars was canceled, but there's an entirely different situation. As far as their animated stuff from now on, the precedent is they know exactly how many seasons they're doing, and they wrap it up when they want to.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And the last question comes from Greg Poe at Greg Poe.
Whoa. You think that is a real name?
Probably.
Greg
That'd be
Poe?
cool.
That is kind of cool. Way to get your handle then there, Greg.
The last question is, with reports of episode 9 score including every theme you've ever heard, and that's a quote, which one are you looking the most forward to? James, which song do you want the most?
Well, okay, to answer the question, the Duel of Fates, but we did talk about that earlier. So I'm going to also say Across the Stars. I think that one showing up would be great. No, it doesn't have to be a romantic thing. Go back and watch those movies. They throw it in all the time. When like dreadful, terrible things are happening in the galaxy. Like just
when else do they use it besides in the prequels?
No, I'm talking about in the prequels.
When like Padme's like falling off a ship.
It's not always like no, exactly. It's like not always like a Padme and Anakin thing. Like it's beautiful that they're in love. It's sometimes they use it like in a dark way where it's like this is the state of what's happening right now. I think it's,
but
I
it's
don't know,
always
I could be wrong, but I think
Anakin
it's
and
used
Padme.
like at the end of Attack of the Clones, in the sense of like the Clone Wars have begun, kind of thing.
Nice, John.
Anyway,
man, I don't know, Jedi Steps or the Force theme. They don't use that anymore. No, Han and Leia's theme. They got to bring that back at some point.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick Leia's theme. I think it's one of, if not the best song that John Williams has ever done. I walked down the aisle at my wedding to that song, so it's my favorite.
I would say Raiders March. I hope they use that.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for your questions. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And send us your questions about Star Wars at us or using hashtag #AskTheResistance. Back to you, John.
Thank you guys so much. And after you follow us on Twitter, make sure you head to resistancebroadcast.com, which will take you to our page on our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com, which you should be going to every day anyway for your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and all that stuff. And then there you'll find where you can subscribe to us, which is Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube. If you're watching YouTube, hey, everybody out there. JJ says hello. Hey, guys. And then also make sure you're heading over to TeePublic, where you can grab one of our designs like Supreme Leader or our logo. There you go.
Or this striped shirt.
Or that Linus shirt from the Peanuts that James is wearing.
With a pocket.
Yep. And also, I want to thank everyone who has been joining us. We notice a big uptick in a lot of people listening and watching the show, so thank you. If you're finding us on YouTube via recommended videos or in a queue, keep spreading the word and leave a comment. Let us know how you found us and join the discussion, because the three of us are always popping in there and replying to you and getting another discussion going. So thank you so much for that. And I want to thank all of our supporters on our Patreon page, because we're able to do a lot of great stuff that are coming to the channel in addition to the podcast. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. You may have already seen some of the new videos and stuff we're putting up there now, but head to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. We have tiers starting at $2 every month. Lacey's posting all the stuff on there. A lot of content, Lacey, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on.
Lots.
5 tiers starting at $2 a month. We may have passed it, I'm not sure, but we're getting very close to our next goal, which would activate The Force Awakens commentary. So we're excited about that. But I want to say a very special thank you to our Patreon generals, and that's Carmelo, Brian Shalito, Andrew Staley, Len Brown, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you, General, so much for all your support. And again, thank you to all our patrons and all of our listeners of the Resistance broadcast. We are growing, and it's thanks to all of you guys for all of your different types of support, whether it's just telling a friend about us or supporting us on Patreon. We thank you so much. James Bainey, where can people find you to tell you how much they love you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks. And I also just want to point out, too, I said kitchen sink theme earlier. I do know that it's called Theme of the Kitchen Sink.
Right. And that's when Baru is cleaning the lettuce.
Title.
Right. Yes, that's exactly what that seems.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Lacey Gillerin.
Yeah. People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
All right. Way to get your handle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back on Thursday. Or guess what, guys? We're not talking, it's like Seinfeld. We're going to talk about nothing specific. We're going to have an open discussion. The three of us are just going to talk Star Wars for about 40 minutes, but we're also bringing back, what's the catchphrase, James? Bringing what? How do we bring it what? It's back.
Sexy?
It's back, baby. Will of the Force is coming back on Thursday, and you're coming back. So enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you guys on Thursday morning with another episode of the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.
I knew it was a